Somalia just delivered one of the most powerful and uncompromising speeches at the United Nations in years, calling for not just a pause, not just another so-called humanitarian corridor, but an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. This wasn't diplomatic small talk. It was a direct challenge to Israel, to the UN Security Council, and to every nation watching in silence. While Gaza collapses into what Somalia called hell on earth, the Somali representative warned that Israel's plan to impose full military control over Gaza is not an abstraction. It's a blueprint for the next chapter of devastation. For the 2 million people still trapped, it would mean famine on a scale the world has never seen. Over 60,000 Palestinians killed since the escalation began. The majority, women and children. 150,000 injured. And now, 90% of Gaza's people displaced, many in makeshift shelters, with no clean water and almost no food. Citing the International Court of Justice, Somalia declared that the occupation, the blockade, and the denial of humanitarian aid are violations of international law. Collective punishment, they said, has no place in a world that claims to value human rights. They also warned against provocations at Jerusalem's Islamic and Christian holy sites, saying these attacks only destabilize the region further. Then came the line that cut through the political noise: true security cannot be built upon the ruins of justice. Here is the full speech.
Mr. President, I thank you for the swift convening of this emergency meeting today. I also express gratitude to Assistant Secretary General Yanka and Mr. Ramish, Head and Representative of OCHA in Geneva, for their sobering briefing and tireless commitment. In the last 48 hours, Israel's announcement of its intention to impose military control over the entire Gaza Strip is not an abstraction. It's a chilling blueprint for the next chapter of its devastation to come. For the 2 million people still trapped in Gaza, this means the escalation of what has already become hell on earth, literally and figuratively, leading to the world's worst man-made famine. It's a death sentence for civilians, where over 60,000 Palestinians have been killed since the escalation began, the majority of them women and children. More than 150,000 have been injured, and 90% of Gaza's population are now internally displaced, many living in makeshift shelters without clean water or food. The expanded military assault will make survival impossible for the civilian population. The International Court of Justice, in its recent advisory opinion, reaffirmed the legal obligation of Israel regarding the occupied Palestinian territory. The court was unequivocal. The occupation, the blockade, the denial of humanitarian access, and actions resulting in collective punishment violate international law. The continued targeting of essential services and the forcible displacement of the Palestinian people from their land in Gaza or the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, directly contradicts the principles this Council exists to uphold. We also stress the necessity of preserving the legal and historical status quo at the Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem, recognizing the essential role of the Hashemite custodianship in this regard. We are gravely concerned about the recent incidents at Al-Aqsa Mosque and reiterate that any provocation or violation undermines peace and stability and must be unequivocally condemned. Mr. President, we have heard enough talk of security as a pretext for collective punishment. True security cannot be built upon the ruins of justice. There can be no peace while occupation persists, and no real security unless the rights of Palestinians, including the right to self-determination are recognized and protected. What is needed now is not another brief pause, but an immediate and a permanent ceasefire. Not another limited corridor, but full and unfettered humanitarian access so that food, water, medicine provided by agencies like UNRWA and OCHA can flow freely, not as a charity, but as a matter of right. Not another partial exchange, but the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages and detainees so that no one endures inhumane conditions under illegal captivity away from their families and loved ones. Not more negotiations to nowhere, but a genuine commitment to end the occupation and realize the two-state solution this Council and the world have long endorsed. We must not allow the language of military necessity to drown out the cries of the hungry and the displaced. The forced starvation of a population is not an accident of war. It's a crime under international law. The bombardment of neighborhoods and the expulsion of families are not regrettable side effects. They are violations that demand accountability. Mr. President, to conclude, this is not just a test for Israel and Palestine. It's a test for all humanity. Will we stand by, citing complexity and precedent? Or will we act with the urgency and moral clarity that this moment demands? In these darkest moments, it's worth remembering what brought the United Nations into existence in the first place. Our charter opens with a solemn pledge, and I quote, "to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war," end of quote. A promise born from the ashes of World War II, when the world vowed never again. Yet, 8 decades later, we are confronted once more with the images and the realities of children buried beneath rubble, starvation used as a weapon, families uprooted, and entire communities erased. If we cannot act now to uphold this promise in Gaza, we must ask ourselves, what then is the purpose of this Council? What in truth remains of our solemn oath to future generations? Let the response not be graveyard silence. And silence in moments like these is not neutrality. For all the victims, it is a verdict. I thank you, Mr. President.
That was Somalia's fiery address to the UN, a speech that pulled no punches and demanded action now. Do you agree with Somalia's call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza? Or do you think the UN will once again fail to act? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And if you want more unfiltered global political moments like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. This is People versus Power. See you in the next one.